Good morning in the evening, Ferry Road. Welcome to our final class on Joshua, take 2.
Yeah, this is Throwback Wednesday. Way back Wednesday, I guess.
Yeah. Or way back Wednesday, I like that. So,
Redo Wednesday.
We had a little bit of trouble. We had some technical difficulties at the end of our class Sunday before last. We hope you guys have all had a great Easter and a wonderful time celebrating with friends, with family, with church members, wherever you were celebrating. But we really wanted to come back and we wanted to spend a little bit of time.
All the requests we've had.
Yeah, kind of wrap
all
this
three
up.
Of them.
All three of the requests that we need to finish up our study on Joshua here. And I'm really glad that we're getting the opportunity to do this. We thank everybody at White's Ferry Road. Of course, we thank Miss Lindy for getting us here and getting us on time and saying, hey, let's get this recorded and get it pushed out.
And all of you out there live streaming on the interweb, internet, whatever you want to call it.
That's
I'm
right.
not real,
The
up on all that stuff. The
interwebs.
worldwide cloud or whatever it is. Yeah.
Well, we've got it. Well, actually, so if you'll remember, if you'll think back to 2 weeks ago,
Okay,
where
it's
we
been a while.
left
I've slept
off,
a couple times since
That's
then.
right.
Yeah,
that's
okay.
right. And we're right at the very end of the book of Joshua. As a matter of
Right.
fact, we're in chapter 24. We're actually moving down about halfway in 16. And we had just had a big issue with the tribes east of the Jordan were going over and they built this big altar and they had this big misunderstanding and
the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half tribe of Manasseh. They're like, we're done
correct.
fighting, we're ready to go home.
And so they built this altar and there was this big misunderstanding about what they were trying to do, and it almost caused a civil war, but Joshua and the tribal elders and the tribal leaders, they got in there and they got it all sorted out, and so everything was good. So Joshua says, okay, now we are at peace. We are at peace. We don't have to fight and conquer so much anymore. We've been blessed and given this land to raise up this nation, and that's what they're going to do. They're basically going to say, okay, let's get to living. And again, Joshua starts out by reminding them, hey, remember, God has given you this land.
Right.
God has allowed you to conquer these people. God has made it so that you can thrive here. It is your responsibility. But in order to do that, you have to do one thing, don't you, Billy?
Follow the rules.
You got to follow the rules, man.
Follow the rules.
You got to follow the rules. That
And that was a recurring theme, even back in Deuteronomy, when Moses said, okay, you got to follow all these rules. Oh, we're going to obey the Lord in everything. We're going to do what he says.
That's right. And then they
did. Right.
Yeah.
Kind of like us these days.
Yeah. We do that a lot these days. We have the best of intentions, but, man, we just get right off the path as we carry on. Try and try.
Yeah.
Keep on trying. And so, thank God for grace. It just keeps us.
So Joshua made a covenant with the people.
It says, on that day, Joshua made a covenant for the people there at Shechem and reaffirmed the decrees and the laws. And Joshua recorded these things in the book of the law of God. So not only did he read them the law of Moses, but he said, hey, you agreed to this, and I added that to it.
That's right.
So when we look back at it, we can say, hey, we are adding this right here. So he says, then he took a large stone and he set it up under an oak near the holy place of the Lord.
I like this part coming up.
He says, see, he said to all the people, this stone will be a witness against us. It has heard all the words the Lord has said to us. It will be a witness against you if you are untrue to your God.
So don't say something in front of these stones that you don't want repeated.
And every time you walk by these stones, you remember that's right. That says, hey, you made a promise. You made a promise here.
And that's why I like it when somebody wears a cross. Kind of reminds you, or you got a chip in your pocket.
What would Jesus do bracelet?
There you go.
A recovery chip in your pocket. That's right. Just something physical and tangible that you can tap into that says,
we're all about visual here.
That's right. I made a promise. And sometimes I need a reminder of my own promise. So then Joshua dismissed the people, each to their own inheritance.
Yeah. And after these things, Joshua, son of Nun, the servant of the Lord, died at the age of 110. He was really old.
Yeah. He was
and they buried him in the land of his inheritance at Timnath-Serah in the hill country of Ephraim, north of Mount Gash. Israel served the Lord throughout the lifetime of Joshua and of the elders who outlived him and who had experienced everything the Lord had done for Israel.
Now that's good leadership, and that's something that we have come back into again. Is not only that that after Joshua died, they continued to carry the practices. They continued, they continued to practice. Even the leadership that he had left behind, the tribal elders, the people still continued to obey God, to uphold his word, and as we talked about a couple of weeks ago, to teach the younger generations.
And that's pretty much it, except for one last minuscule thing.
We left out one little thing. Miss Donna Lynch was quick to remind us that we had left out something. So
let me go check on that real quick.
If you got to go, I'll say. So it's been almost 500 years now since the Israelite people had entered Egypt. Right? They spent 400 years in captivity there in Egypt. They were brought out after the plagues into 40 years of wandering in the wilderness. They have been fighting for 10 years on top of that, 450 years, and now they're really just getting ready to come on, and they're really fulfilling just the very end of all the promises that God had made to them. So in Joshua 24, verse 32, it says, "And Joseph's bones, which the Israelites had brought up from Egypt, were buried at Shechem, the tract of land that Jacob had bought for 100 pieces of silver. From the sons of Hamor to the father of Shechem, this became the inheritance of Joseph."
There you go.
Of Joseph.
We got Joseph right here.
Descendants.
Well, not really, but special delivery from the U.S. Postal Service.
From the U.S. Postal Service, all the way from Egypt.
Yeah,
450 years.
Well, we do have a postal connection. You know that, right? See, because your father-in-law was a mailman.
That's right.
Retired mailman. I'm retired from the Postal Service. So we
got
a little bit of connection here. And that would be a job.
That would be, and when
That's a job.
For 50 years after they left out of Egypt, you see, Joseph knew that God would bring them back to the promised land.
Right.
He knew way back in the day when he was a big guy in Egypt. He was the number 2. Like, he was the vice pharaoh.
Right.
Of
Vice
Egypt.
Pharaoh, there you go.
And so when he died in Egypt, they embalmed him and put him in a casket. But
so he might have been like a mummy or something.
Sure. He specifically told everybody, though, they said, "Do not bury me in Egypt." He says, "Take me back home to the land that my father had purchased, to the promised land where we're going." He knew back then that they would be going home. Now, he may not have imagined it would be 450 years later.
Right. And, you wonder, he with his position, he probably was able to maybe go travel and visit from time to time.
Oh, sure. I would imagine. He was wealthy. He was powerful. He could have said, "Pharaoh, give me some chariots, a garrison of people. I want to go check on the old homestead."
Yeah.
And then he went on about and did that. But after they left Egypt, for the 40 years of wandering in the desert, for the 10 years of fighting against the Canaanite factions and armies, somebody had to tote this guy around.
Yeah.
Like, that was
their job.
And I imagine it was a pretty prestigious job, but it's like, "Oh, I got to go."
I think I just broke his
Did you
arm.
break him?
I'm sorry.
I think he'll be okay.
Okay.
It
makes you wonder, maybe at Passover, one of the other holidays, maybe they took him out and dressed him up or something.
They put him at the head of the table.
Yeah, kind of like, our neighbors in Calhoun.
Not in a sacrilegious, like, what'd you say, your neighbors in Calhoun?
Yeah, we have a landmark in Calhoun now. It's L.A. Huggins?
L.A. Huggins.
And they have this skeleton they've put up at Halloween, and they've left him up ever since. And each holiday, they dress him up as another character. Santa Claus, Cousin Eddie, New Year's. Right now, he's still the Easter Bunny, so I'm kind of waiting to see what he is next.
Oh, nice.
But he's become the most famous landmark in Calhoun. Even more famous than his next-door neighbor, John Godwin, So.
Well, hey, look, man, if you got a 15-foot
I don't know if they really
skeleton,
did that.
They may not have.
I'm going to go set Joseph down.
But the promise was kept, and this promise was described back in Genesis chapter 50. So Joseph remained in Egypt, he and his father's house, and Joseph lived 110 years. And Joseph saw Ephraim's children to the 3rd generation. The children also of Machir, the son of Manasseh, were counted as Joseph's own. And Joseph said to his brothers, "I am about to die, but God will visit you and bring you up out of this land, the land that he swore to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob." Then Joseph made the sons of Israel swear, saying, "God will surely visit you, and you shall carry up my bones from here." So Joseph died, being 110 years old. They embalmed him, and he was put in a coffin in Egypt. But the Israelites kept their word.
That's
like
right.
I said, he may not have ever imagined that it would be 400 years later.
Right.
But when it was time for them to leave Egypt, when the Pharaoh said, get up, get out of here, get your carts, your donkeys, your grills, and be gone, then they did not forget.
And they said, don't forget Joseph.
Said, don't forget Joseph.
Don't forget Joseph. So Joseph's bones, which the Israelites had brought up from Egypt, were buried at Shechem. Is that how you say it? Mm-hmm. Okay. In the tract of land that Jacob bought for 100 pieces of silver from the sons of Hamor, the father of Shechem. This became the inheritance of Joseph's descendants. And Eleazar, son of Aaron, died and was buried at Gibeah, which had been allotted to his son Phinehas in the hill country of Ephraim. And that's pretty much the end of Joshua.
And that is the end of Joshua.
We're done. See you next week.
That's right.
Sorry. No, we're not
I
done.
tell you what, I would like to look back at just some of the key themes that we have looked at throughout this book, as we have done over the course of these last several weeks. And these things came up again and again as we went through this study. One, right out of the bat, God fulfills his promise. Right? Now, these promises are fulfilled on his time and to his accord.
That's right.
But we just have to be faithful that he has the answer and he will bring these things about as he sees fit. We stay the course. He's gonna be there.
We there. Yeah. The next one is disobedience leads to disaster. You remember the story of Achan. Achan's booty. He goes in, they're not going to miss this. Nobody's going to know. I'll just go bury it in my tent. And everyone knew. And that one single act of disobedience ended his family.
It sure did.
I mean, it was horrible.
3, true faith requires action. Right? Sometimes it's going to require something on your part to bring to yourself, to bring about the blessings that the Lord has in store for you. Think Jericho. The people got there and they saw this formidable enemy. They saw this impenetrable fortress. There's no way we're going to get through there. But the people listened, they believed, and they did something about it.
And it's not always
how
we think it should be done.
Not always the way we think it's going to go.
That's right. The next one is remembrance is of the utmost importance. Just like the rocks, making the covenant in front of the rocks, they're a witness. We need to remember the good and the bad. There's bad things like Achan. We need to remember. Okay, you remember what happened there, or you remember the good things. We got to pass that along.
That's right, and that's something that our culture today struggles a little bit with, about what we should preserve and should not preserve, or should remember.
Trying to cancel history. That's right.
And trying to cancel out history when it is very valuable to have these things, even the bad things that we've seen in this book, to look back and go, yeah, that was pretty severe. Maybe we should not do that again.
Right.
Go ahead.
Same thing in our country.
Yes, 100%. Go ahead and take the next one.
God is sovereign judge over all the nations, not us.
That is correct.
We want to judge everybody. We always think we're right, but God is the one judging. We just need to follow whatever he tells us, and
right.
That's not our job.
And sometimes we see something and we're like, hey man, that really isn't going down the way I think it should. Guess what? It's not your place.
That's right.
to think it. Finally, one thing that we've come to time and time again throughout this whole book is leadership matters.
That's right.
Right? It matters who you follow. It matters who you look up to. It matters not only that, but who is looking up to you. Because I guarantee you, regardless of who you are and regardless of your station in life, there is someone looking up to you. Right? It may be a family member. It may be a child. It may be a friend, a coworker.
That's right.
It may be somebody you haven't even met yet. But in someone's life, you garner some sort of authority, and you have some kind of leadership. And with that leadership comes the responsibility of teaching people correctly. Well, I tell you what, we have had an absolute blast in doing this class, and I tell you what, no one has learned more about the book of Joshua than Billy and myself.
Absolutely.
Now, like if you truly want to learn something, if you want to do a deep dive into Scripture, man, volunteer to teach a class.
Absolutely, good idea.
It'll teach you something. So these are some of the verses that really stuck out to us as we went on this study, as we've gone on this journey with all of you, and we appreciate y'all joining us. In Joshua 1:5, it says, "No one will be able to stand against you all the days of your life. As I was with Moses, I will be with you. I will never leave you and never forsake you. We hear God say this all throughout the Old and New Testaments. He's like, I'm here. I will be with you. I will not forsake you, right? You do what I have commanded you to do, and it's going to work out.
And that same promise comes to us.
100%.
He's with us all the time. You know, even though sometimes we think he's not. You know, just this last week with Easter weekend, you think about that Saturday.
Oh yeah.
You know,
That's
you're like,
what? The darkest Saturday.
The darkest Saturday. You have Friday, he dies. Saturday, the disciples are running around like, what next?
Hunting.
What happened?
In fear for their own lives.
And we got to remember, God was still working. I know it was finished, but the work was still being done.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. Next, Joshua 1:8. Keep this book of the law always on your lips, meditate on it day and night, so that you may be careful to do everything written in it. Then you will be prosperous and successful. Yeah, we need God's word in our lives.
Okay, if only we had a book like that today. You know, that we could look. Oh, hey.
That's right. You know, one of the worst things is this thing right here. But it's also good because, like, every day I'm reading my Bible out of my phone. I'm listening to good music, and we got to remember the culture we're around is going to feed us with all kind of bad stuff. Garbage in means garbage out. And so we need to fill our mind with good things. Listen to good music. I don't care what it is. Don't listen to trash that's got a lot of bad, subject matter or words or whatever. I mean, I'm not saying you got to listen to Christian music. I do. I mean, listen to just something that's good and uplifting.
Right. And like we said so many times throughout these last several weeks, the culture that you spend your time in will influence you.
Absolutely.
It will do that for the good. It will do that for the bad.
Absolutely.
Joshua 1:9.
All right. Oh, man, you got the good one. Go ahead.
Go.
No, go ahead. No.
Have I not commanded you? Be
strong and courageous. How about that?
Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. For the
Lord your God will be with you wherever you go.
And man, that is a good one. That is one that we can use to just constantly remind ourselves every day. It's like, hey, look, you may be facing an illness. You may be facing trouble at work. You may be facing trouble at home or trouble with your children or anything like that. But he says, hey, be strong. Be strong.
That's right.
Get up there and go. I will be with you.
And it's not always easy, especially when that phone rings.
That's right, yeah.
Silence your phone, please. There you go. Okay, should we move on?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, Joshua 5:10-12. On the evening of the 14th day of the month, while camped at Gilgal on the plains of Jericho, the Israelites celebrated the Passover. The day after the Passover, that very day, they ate some of the produce of the land. Unleavened bread and roasted grain. The manna stopped that day after they ate the food from this land. There was no longer any manna for the Israelites, but that year they ate the produce of Canaan. We got to remember, God's going to provide.
That's right.
He provided for them while they were in the wilderness for 40 years.
That's right. And when he provided, when they began to eat from the land, there's no turning back.
That's right.
It's like you've crossed
You're not
over.
going back.
You've crossed over. There's no food back over there for back there for you. That hey, we're carrying on forward with this plan.
That's right.
You stick with me. Joshua 5:13-14 says, now when Joshua was near Jericho, he looked up and he saw a man standing right in front of him with a drawn sword in his hand. And Joshua asked him, are you for us or for our enemies? Neither, he replied, but as commander of the army of the Lord, I have now come. And then Joshua fell face down on the ground with reverence and asked him, what message does my Lord have for his servant? And the commander of the Lord's army replied, take off your sandals, for this place that you are standing is holy ground. And Joshua did so.
Yeah.
Man, sometimes we have to remember where our place is.
That's right.
Right? That we are not the one in charge, that we are not the one running the show. Joshua represented this very well, you know, when he asked because, hey, we've talked about this. I believe you brought it up a couple of weeks ago and said, he was probably had another fight in him right there. He was ready. He's like, hey.
I'm sure he saw this guy and was like, okay, here, let's go. Let's go down.
Right.
We're going to throw down here. And this guy said, hey, I'm with the army of the Lord. Are you sure about
so.
this one? And he's like, let me fall down in reverence.
That's right. That's right. It's a little bit out of my league.
And take my sandals off.
Right.
And that's kind of cool. It kind of harkens back to Moses.
Yeah, at the fiery bush.
Yeah. I mean, he was like his replacement, and, they both stood on holy ground. So.
That's right.
Okay, Joshua 8:32-33. There, in the presence of the Israelites, Joshua wrote on stones a copy of the law of Moses. All the Israelites with their elders, officials, and judges were standing on both sides of the ark of the covenant of the Lord, facing the Levitical priests who carried it. Both the foreigners living among them and the native born were there. Just need to remember, God's word is important.
That's right. Pour into it, pour it into yourself, but even more importantly, pour it into your families. Pour it into the generations that follow. It is a guide. Our Bibles today are a guide. It's not a step-by-step ABC of how to live life.
Right.
It's a living book, which is why it matters at my daughter's age as much as it matters at my age,
Sure.
as much as it matters at maybe Billy's age.
Oh, yeah.
That
He was very old.
that we keep going, like that we use that guidepost and that we pour it into those around us. Joshua 24:14. Now fear the Lord and serve him with all faithfulness. Throw away the gods that your ancestors worshiped beyond the Euphrates River in Egypt and serve the Lord. Get the other gods out of your life, right?
Right.
Just put aside those, and what he was talking about here, he was talking about pagan gods from the other factions of people groups that lived in this area at this time. But it speaks to us today in the things that we choose to idolize. It may be, that's the big one right there. It may be our technology. It may be our relationships with our family. It may be
maybe our career.
Our career. Yeah, it's just anything that we bring to that idol status. We put it up in importance in front of our serving the Lord.
Right. We kind of look back and you're thinking, oh, yeah, they had these little idols. I'm sure when they captured the city, they were, what is this?
Yeah.
Oh, it's an idol. They worship this thing? Yeah. I might hang on to
this.
this.
Let's put this in
Who knows? But I mean, we kind of laugh at that, but then there's things we worship that we think, oh, what's wrong with this?
That's right. And we'll look at it, and it can be easily misconstrued. I mean, just as we finished the war, and just before the 2.5 tribes on the east of Jordan could get back, there was already a misunderstanding involving an altar and some idol worship. And they're like, wait a minute. So we have to be clear and concise about about what is leading in our lives.
Yep. Joshua 24:15. But if serving the Lord seems undesirable to you, then choose for yourself this day whom you will serve, whether the gods of your ancestors that they served beyond the Euphrates, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land you are now living. But as for me and my household, we will serve the Lord.
And that's incredible. I mean, Joshua just stands up and he says, look, I have made a choice, and you're going to have to make a choice too. He said, you can't just ride my coattails. I speak for my family and my household when I say my household serves the Lord.
That's right.
Now, my children will grow up and they will have households of their own, and that decision must be made again for them. But Joshua puts it very plainly. He says, look, the world is going to throw everything it can imagine at you.
That's right.
And you have to make the decision. And sometimes, and we've talked about this a lot, when we've talked about our CR influences and things like that, sometimes that decision has to be made daily. Right. Sometimes I have to get up in the morning and say, you know what? Today I'm going to serve the Lord.
I need a blue chip every day.
Right.
Yeah. Let me get through another day, another hour, another minute.
So we stop at lunch and it's like, man, I need to serve the Lord today.
Absolutely.
Billy, it has been an absolute pleasure and an honor serving with you these past 7 weeks. And this Sunday, that's right. We're starting a new class this Sunday. I say we, it's going to be a lot of us. And we're going to be jumping on into the New Testament. We're going to be looking at the book of Philippians. Billy and I are going to introduce it to you, and then we're going to turn loose a whole gang of people that are going to teach us a little bit of time week to week. Love you guys. Thanks.
See ya.